They work in the shadows and watch from afar. They dig up the dirt that needs to be dug up, like infidelity and other stuff like infidelity. I'm talking about private investigators. But what's it really like to be a PI? We were wondering. So we booked this next guy. That's how it works here. He's Vito Colucci. He's a private investigator and the author of the book, Inside the Private Eyes of a PI. He knows spying like I know crying. Vito, first off, glad to have you here. I got to ask you, what is the most common request you get in terms of work? Because I'm guessing it's always going to be infidelity, correct?
Yeah, that's usually the #1, followed closely by the criminal cases, Greg.
Yeah. Now, is it more often women or men who think their partner is cheating?
Well, people are surprised by this, but 60% of the people that we watch on marriage infidelity cases are women nowadays.
You know what I find interesting is I read somewhere, I don't know if it was in your book, but most of the times that you're hired are around Valentine's Day. Why is that?
Well, Valentine's Day is the biggest day. I mean, if a guy or a woman is cheating, that's the day they want to be with their girlfriend or boyfriend, but yet they got to keep the home fires burning too, so they got to figure out what to do, you know?
See, I thought my theory was that when you're a guy and you're dating a girl, you're trying to get out of buying a gift. So what you do is you try to find a reason to get out of it by actually having her catch you, or you trying to catch her. But that's just my theory.
Okay, all right. It's a good theory, I guess.
How do you, okay, let me say I call you up. I'm the guy that calls you up and thinks my wife is cheating. What's the first place to start? Take me through the steps.
All right, I meet with the client, we discuss the case, work out a price, how many days we're going to do it. I ask for different things that they do. Do they go out on a certain night, go to a certain bar, who's their best friend that they may be hanging out. And then the bottom line, Greg, good old-fashioned, I'm an ex-cop, good old-fashioned police work. You have to follow the individual and see where they're going.
You know, I love the whole idea about following. What are some good tips about following people so they don't notice they're being followed?
Well, you stay a distance away. I got a great staff of guys and girls. We try to separate us by a couple of cars. Of course, it helps if you know the area, know the town. I'm an ex-cop. I worked undercover organized crime and narcotics, so I'm not worried about following Mrs. Jones around, to be honest with you.
Do you ever wear disguises?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
Do you ever decide to just get a limp going? Just so, you know, just some kind of character?
No? Well, you know, you can do that. In the older days, I've been doing this 22 years, we did, when you have to have the big cameras back then. Now you can go in, the cameras are pinhole in a fanny pack or a baseball cap or something of that nature. So you can just act normal, go in a bar and stand a couple feet away from you, and I got Greg on camera. Yeah.
Speaking of having people on camera, let's say I work out at a gym, you know, let's say in Chelsea, and I'm convinced there's a guy in the locker room who's stealing from my locker. Would I be able to get, say, a camera installed in the men's locker room at the gym in Chelsea?
No, you can't do that, Greg, because you're in an area where people are in undress. You cannot get a camera in there. The best you can do is have some cameras outside the dressing rooms to watch the comings and goings of people going in and out, but not in any kind of private areas like that.
It's interesting because the naughty bits of said attendees was nowhere near Greg's mind when he said that. He didn't even put two and two together.
It takes all the fun out of it if it's outside. Yeah. What happens when you get caught? When you get caught, you're doing surveillance, and do you have a story set up, or have you ever been caught by the person you're tailing?
No, never been caught by the person we're tailing. The most you'll ever get sometimes is a neighbor may call the police. You identify yourself to the police that you're there on business. You do not have to tell the police who you're watching, what address or anything. We always stay a distance away so nobody can figure it out.
You know, I look in the back of your book, and there's a blurb here from singer and songwriter, the great Michael Bolton. Did you work for him at all?
Yes, that's how I met him. We've become good friends over the years. I did work for him. He thought he had a stalker. It wound up being a very funny thing in the book. So if people watching the show buy it, it's a great thing. He thought he was being stalked, but it wound up being a golf buddy of his.
Well, you know, the funny story is, this is the thing that I always bring up. It's not stalking if you're good looking. You know, it's like, if it's just, I happen to be following Michael Bolton around for a couple of weeks, that's stalking. But if I happen to be an attractive woman, oh, then it would be like, come aboard, play with my long hair.
Start following Michael Bolton dressed as an attractive woman. That's something I think you'd enjoy.
What's the weirdest thing you ever discovered when you were doing investigation, where you couldn't believe you found out about this the object that you were covering?
Well, truthfully, we just finished a case not too long ago about a priest in Connecticut that robbed several $1 million to use it on his boyfriend and things of that nature. And I always say, after all the years of working organized crime and everything else I've seen, I've never saw anything like that. The boldness of the Amex bills being run up into the millions, Toomey luggage, Tiffany jewelry, and it was just every month on there. So that was the craziest thing that I saw that really blew my mind.
He sounds like the coolest priest ever. It's like, he didn't seem to care, did he?
Well, you know, he had a big tax sale before he went away to the big house, so you can pick up that stuff cheap now, you know. So
one last question, because you're an ex-cop. Is that what someone should look for when they're looking to hire a private investigator or a private detective? Should it be somebody who has an experience in crime enforcement?
It definitely helps a lot. I think people should ask that. There are people I know that are PIs without any police background, and they're good. But, I mean, you know, you can't get handed a murder case and open up a murder case 101 book. You have to have some experience in how to do these things,
Gotcha.
Greg.
Well, thank you, Vito. Your book is called Inside the Private Eyes of a PI. Here it is right there. Pick it up. It's quite enjoyable. Thank you, Vito. Please come back when we have specific problems. I've got like 6 of them I need you to handle. All right, do you have a comment on the show? Email us. red@foxnews.com. It's that simple. You don't need a detective for that. And if you want to leave a voicemail message on my direct line, 212-462-5050, I just give my number out to people. And still to come in the next 30 minutes, the halftime report from TV's very own Andy Levy. Tonight's report is sponsored by Fractality, the property of chaotic systems whereby the basic pattern recurs at multiple levels of magnification. Thanks, Fractality. Well, welcome, Greg.